I'm curious how exactly this came together because this legislation pieces together a few different bills to make a more comprehensive act. And the lawmakers who support this bill, it's people like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congressman Chip Roy, Brian Fitzpatrick, Anna Paulina Luna, Tim Burchett. I mean, these are people all across the political spectrum. So what did those compromises really look like?
Well, it's taken a lot of time. So, this is like kind of I've been here for 7 or 8 years. This is like a 7-year overnight success. I remember when we started, we were having discussions around COVID, originally with COVID, when, we as members of Congress were all given the information about how severe the pandemic would be, what the federal response was going to look like. I called my wife and said, go to Costco and get a hand sanitizer and toilet paper. That's what I did with that information, along with, trying to figure out the right policy to get the country through it. Some of my colleagues, again, they called their brokers and they bought and sold stock on the basis of what they'd learned. And that's just fundamentally wrong. So that's when I really started thinking that we needed a ban. And I remember at the time talking to people like Abigail Spanberger about it. Abby's now running for governor of Virginia. Others that you mentioned, folks like Joe Neguse, and on the other side, you had folks like Chip Roy, very involved back then. Others that are no longer in the Congress, like Ken Buck. And so even then, it was a very wide ideological range that was interested in this. And what happened subsequent is another round of news after the tariff stuff all happened earlier this year, and the belief that there may have been some members that had access to the knowledge of what Trump may or may not do. You had Trump going on Truth Social saying today is a great time to buy, that whole thing, which I think you and I have spoken about before when it all happened. And so we all started talking again. And Abigail Spanberger had handed off the authorship of the bill, the primary author, to Seth Magaziner from Rhode Island. Of course, Chip Roy is still in the Congress. And so the two of them, Magaziner and Roy, started talking back then, along with all the rest of us. As I said, there are about 15 or so of us that have been deeply involved in all this stuff. And so we all came together, and I think getting things done in Washington is all about when preparation meets opportunity. So we've been preparing for a number of years, and now the opportunity, I think, is here, given that this is more and more supported. Having the public support of President Trump, having the public support of Speaker Jeffries and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, Speaker Johnson and Leader Jeffries, all that's important because ultimately it'll be up to Speaker Johnson to decide how to proceed. If he wants a floor vote, I'm convinced that we can pass this thing in the House, and I think it would get well over 60 votes in the Senate. The key is getting it to the floor. Getting it to the floor is the key. So the current strategy, get as many Republicans and Democrats on the bill as we can, do it Noah's Ark style, one Democrat, one Republican at a time, broaden the list of co-sponsors on the bill, and move it through the committee process, do the markup in the committee process, get it to the floor via regular order. That's certainly what we're discussing. And if that doesn't work out, folks like Anna Paulina Luna, as you mentioned, have been talking about a discharge petition. That's a different process where if the speaker refuses to bring a bill to the floor after it's been stuck in committee for 30 legislative days, not calendar days, then you can start the process of getting it, heard anyway if you have a majority, or voted on anyway if you have a majority of members who have signed a petition saying move it to the floor. So we're not going to exclude any options, Brittany. We're going to do everything we can to get this across the finish line as soon as possible.